ministry says it strongly opposes the U.S.'s move to shoot down the balloon, saying the U.S. insists on using force, obviously overreacting and seriously violating international practice. And let's now bring in retired Major General Scott Clancy, former Director of Operations for NORAD, in the conversation. Thank you for your time, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me, Akshay.
So let's just start with the reaction, China's official reaction to U.S. shooting down the Chinese balloon. What do you make of the tone here, from an almost apologetic statement on Friday to a more strongly worded reaction now?
So I think what you're seeing is a standard practice from the People's Republic of China. This is obviously a subversive action by China that's compromised Canadian and U.S. airspace, reacted to by NORAD in the binational command, and I think appropriately. It's indicative of the Chinese desire to gather intelligence via pretty much whatever means possible. And I think we should all be concerned about this. I think the overtones that they're showing now, leads me to believe that there's something more behind why this is here. I don't think it's just an intelligence balloon. What if they were trying to see what our reactions are going to be? And I've said before, and I'll say this again, I think that if we think on the diplomatic sphere, that there's more of a threat in this area. What if the Chinese actually had already predicted all of the reactions that Canada and the U.S. would have? If that's the case, then this is the desired impact that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, important point you raise. Why now? Because this comes just before, of course, that scheduled visit of a U.S. Secretary of State, which, of course, now has been postponed, raising the question at a time when the countries were trying to mend relationships. We see something happen.
It's a great point. And that's the question that's been vexing me for the last little while.
Right.
I think that if the People's Republic of China really was acting in a straightforward way, and our former ambassador from Canada to China has already stated this, Guy Saint-Jacques, that a straightforward and honest actor in the international sphere would have communicated already with the United States and Canada that this balloon was entering our airspace. This is obviously not a straightforward actor. So if that's the case, prior to Blinken's visit to and the ongoing tensions between the U.S. and China in the Indo-Pacific region, I have to make the case that this is not a deliberate action to try and undermine those.
But shooting it down now, do you believe that was the best approach? And I ask you that because why do you think a balloon that was flying, from much further north until it reached continental U.S. and was of value, why wasn't it brought down over NORAD airspace in northern parts of Canada?
So two things with this. First of all, I think that the balloon did not pose any tactical immediate threat, either from a security point of view, because of the abilities of the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Defense in the United States, as well as Public Safety and the Department of National Defense in Canada to protect our either cyber, critical infrastructure or military assets, from the intelligence collection of the balloon. So it didn't really pose an immediate military threat, but it did pose a risk to people on the ground. So therefore, from a safety point of view, and I've advised on this kind of an engagement in the past, I would have advised to wait until it was over the open ocean, unless it became a threat to an urban center or something like that.
Okay, one more question before we let you go, sir. Does it make you wonder why a balloon? Why a balloon that was so easily visible needed by China for something when there are such powerful satellites available to them?
And that's interesting. A lot of the sensors that you could imagine being in a balloon like this would be in the low Earth satellites, the low Earth orbit satellites that the PRC, the People's Republic of China, is already using. But it could be more enhanced intelligence gathering assets that we're not aware of. It could be gathering on the cyber elements within North America. It could be preparing to launch an electromagnetic pulse. Now, this is not saying that there's an EMP or electromagnetic pulse weapon on board, but it could have been preparing for such an activity, practicing to see, one, if they could put a balloon that far, and two, what would actually be the reactions from our intelligence gathering community and NORAD itself.
Indeed, and of course, we'll now wait and see what US has to say after they have analysed the pieces of debris that is being made available. But for the moment, Retirement General Scott Clancy, former Director of Operations for NORAD, we appreciate you joining us, sir. Thank you for your time.
You have a wonderful evening.
You too.